for me in the ocean of opportunities, O is about open access as a stepping stone to open science. For me, C is about communities. It's all about research communities. Research communities are becoming global. E for me is experience, and I think we should really work on redefining the experience. Some of the author experiences remain the same. For me, A, no points for guessing, is AI. Even my mom uses AI to look up new recipes and travel plans, etc. For me, it is about network effects because I believe publishers have also the responsibility to connect the research ecosystems with innovation ecosystems and public policy ecosystems and, creating network effects. And I also see publishers transforming from being a content pipeline to actually a platform for engaging research communities and helping them have a much better impact on solving the world's greatest challenges.
Welcome to Insights Xchange, the crossroads of ideas and academia. I'm your host, Nikesh Gosalia. Every episode, I engage with the brightest minds and industry experts who are shaping the landscape of research and publishing. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and enlightened as we explore the frontiers of knowledge together. This is where thought leaders and ideas converge. Welcome aboard. Today, we have the privilege of conversing with Dr. Jegadeesan, the Chief Publishing Officer at Springer Nature. He has had an illustrious career marked by his transformative role at SAP, where he led product management and strategy for integration. His journey from the tech industry to spearheading innovation in academic publishing at Springer Nature positions him at the forefront of driving change in the world of research and knowledge dissemination. Today, he joins us to share his insights on the evolving landscape of academic publishing and the future of research. Welcome, Harsh, and thank you for joining us.
Nikesh, thanks a lot for having me in the show. Look forward to our conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, Harsh. I'm sure all of our listeners would be very intrigued to hear a little bit about your journey. So you moved from almost 16 years at SAP and product management to then joining Springer Nature to drive solutions, and now the Chief Publishing Officer. As someone who joined academic publishing after the digital revolution, how do you see the space and the opportunities, perhaps some challenges as well, facing the industry?
Absolutely. Well, for me, I've really enjoyed the journey. I started as a researcher, so I'm trained as a computer scientist, was working on research in academia. I originally come from the south of India, and then I spent quite some time in the technology industry, working in R&D, and also building products and leading global teams at SAP. And when I had this opportunity to join Springer Nature, and as a researcher, I of course knew Springer Nature. I thought this was a calling. This was a great opportunity for me to support research to reality, because at the end of the day, the research that happens in the lab should be shared widely and then should influence innovation and change. And that felt like a calling, and that's why I joined Springer Nature. It's been a fabulous 2 years. I'm still new in the industry. I still do ask stupid questions, but I believe the opportunities that we have in front of us is enormous. So I'm really happy to be part of this industry.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for sharing that, Harsh. And I know that, we've spoken quite a few times in the past. And honestly, it doesn't feel like it's just been 2 years. I think in year one already, Harsh, you made a fantastic presentation at the APE conference. And then in year two, almost like a slightly different role, but understanding all the learnings from the technology industry and how we can implement that in academia. So it's been fabulous to just have you share some of those insights. As we've been talking about in 2023, we've been hearing about a lot of disruptions affecting the industry. In your opinion, what would you think are the most significant disruptions currently happening in academic publishing? And what do you think happens after these disruptions?
Well, the publishing industry and the academic publishing industry has been there for a long time. Brands like Nature and Springer have been there even before all of us were born and will continue to be there for generations. The industry has also been a pioneer, if I may, in the way that they adopted digitization, digitized all the content, and really made it easy to be accessed by everybody globally. But what I believe is there is still a lot that we could do in terms of going fully digital. And what do I mean by that in terms of really reimagining the experience of publishing and accessing this content and actually having an impact in a more digital way? And I wouldn't see this as challenges, but I would see this as opportunities in front of us. And I tried to articulate those opportunities also in APE as what I see as ocean of opportunities. For me, O is all about open access, which is the first step towards open science. Having been a big beneficiary of the open source software movement, where as a young teenager, I had access to a collaboration environment with really great people contributing to Linux code and making that really equitable was a defining moment. And if you look at open source software, 99% of the software that's written today uses open source software, and we are at 30% of open access. So I believe there is still a great way to go, and we are just at the beginning of the open science revolution on how it can increase participation and build equity, and also, have significant impact. So for me, in the ocean of opportunities, O is about open access as a stepping stone to open science. For me, C is about communities. It's all about research communities. Research communities are becoming global. There is more new generation becoming new researchers, the Gen X. Their expectations are completely different. And if we can cater to the aspirations of research communities, provide them with a platform for them to collaborate and coordinate their research, then we'll have a much better value from all the research spending that we have. So for me, C in the ocean of opportunities is communities and collaboration. E for me is experience, and I think we should really work on redefining the experience. Some of the author experiences remain the same for 20, 25 years. We still use systems that were built for a different generation, and I believe we need to redefine how the experience that we offer. For example, in Springer Nature, we're working on Snap, which is our publishing platform, which is towards a faster, safer, and a more enjoyable publishing experience. Also, there is a lot of work happening on discovery. What you guys do with R.Discovery is also a fascinating example of redefining the experience for researchers and research communities. For me, no points for guessing, is AI. AI is going to be part of all our lives. Even my mom uses AI to look up new recipes and travel plans, etc. And it's going to be a part of every researcher. They use AI significantly, and I believe AI can also help in all parts, staying on top of what's happening in the research areas, really helping them go from research to writing their paper, as well as help in the simplifying or assisting in the peer review process, of course, with responsibility and human intention built at the top of it. And for me, A is about network effects, because I believe publishers have also the responsibility to connect the research ecosystems with innovation ecosystems and public policy ecosystems, and creating network effects. And I believe these are ocean of opportunities that I see in front of us. And I also see publishers transforming from being a content pipeline to actually a platform for engaging research communities and helping them have a much better impact on solving world's greatest challenges. So it's an exciting time for me to be in the industry, and I'm sure a lot of you listening would also feel the same.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Harsh. And I absolutely love the Ocean acronym that you've used. I did hear that at the APE conference, and made a note of that, and shared internally as well. That was fantastic. And just to talk a little bit about maybe an extended part of communities, I think researchers have always obviously been the central stakeholder in all of this. But for number of reasons, a lot of scholarly publishers, societies in the past at least, have focused a lot on engaging with various other stakeholders that are involved as well, librarians being one of them. As we see this focus shifting towards becoming more researcher-centric, researcher-facing, in your opinion, does that change the dynamics of the business model, Harsh?
I think all of them are stakeholders. So if you look at who the main stakeholders are, of course, yeah, the research communities, and we need to simplify the experience for them to share their research. We also have funders who want to have the best value for their funding and drive the right impact. We have research institutions, we have librarians who actually are, very important in this whole ecosystem. Therefore, I think as publishers, we need to really look at all these different stakeholders and see how we could better address their needs, helping funders with the data and insights from the community, as well as combining that with the bigger problems to solve and giving them insights on where to actually deploy their research funding. And research funding, by the way, is going to continue to grow globally, both in the academic as well as in the corporate sector, and having the best value for that investment, close to 1.7 trillion investment that we do as a humanity, is really, really important. And the second is the research ecosystem and the research communities on how they're able to collaborate and coordinate their research and have their research areas towards problem solving is going to be very critical. Enabling librarians to provide the right access to research content and research services to researchers, and also helping them improve the way they do their research and communicate their research, and being a partner to the librarians to do that is going to be a very important component, and also helping research institutes really maximize their research infrastructure and provide the right infrastructure for their research communities is also going to be important. So bringing all these different pieces together is a great responsibility that I think publishers have. And I would say publishers of all stripes and shapes and sizes, not just the big ones, but also society publishers have a huge role to play in this, because they build the community and they, through the society memberships, really bring the people together. And having a coordinated effort in our industry to support these stakeholders and really helping to move research to reality is a great position for us to be in.
Absolutely. I fully agree with you. And just building on the need for the researchers, there seems to be a constant evolution, especially with new technologies, funding structures. Again, from what you see, Harsh, and traveling all across the globe, being part of various initiatives, could be on the researcher side, could be on the publisher side, could be platforms, workflows. What, in your opinion, are some of the most significant shifts that you've observed in researcher needs over the maybe past few years? And how do you think Springer Nature is adapting to cater to them? Maybe specifically, if you have any tool or platform that you've seen or have developed that comes to mind to enhance the research experience.
If you look at research communities and how they're evolving, they're becoming more global, because if you look at overall research spending and the gross expenditure on R&D as compared to GDP, it's really growing across all economies. We have more research coming in from China, from India, from the Middle East, and there are more and more research communities that are becoming more diverse in that sense. They're becoming geographically diverse. And great work is happening in different parts of the globe. And this is very, very important, because we want to be able to also have global solutions, but also localized solutions to local problems in terms of energy safety, in terms of water conservation, in terms of fighting diseases, etc. Therefore, research ecosystems becoming more global is really, really good. And this also brings in the challenge that we have more researchers, more than 50-60% of the researchers, their native language is not English. The language in which research is communicated, and helping them really able to communicate their research is going to be really important. helping them stay on top of research is going to be really important, and helping them collaborate on research is also going to be really critical. So in Springer Nature, we're looking at solving these specific problems. And one of the things that we offer is our Curie, which is a scientific writing tool, which is using AI to help researchers communicate their research. We want to use the tool also to reduce the barrier for researchers to be able to share their research. We have Nature Research Intelligence, which researchers could use to stay on top of what's happening in their research areas, look at what's the upcoming thing in their research areas, upcoming researchers in their research areas, so they're able to connect with each other and coordinate their research. We also have Snap, which has helped 5.5 million researchers in the past couple of years publishing open access research and redefining the experience that a publishing platform could offer researchers. I talked about faster, safer, and a really enjoyable, researcher-centric experience, and this is what we're trying to do. And I also see that beyond Springer Nature, overall the industry is also looking at putting such experiences out there in the center. I talked about researcher discovery, R.Discovery, which is actually helping researchers stay on top. There is a lot more happening in different parts of this ecosystem where there is innovation coming in to make life easy for researchers. Having said that, we're also looking at with nature masterclasses, providing researchers really help to know how they could conduct research, stay on top of research methods, to be able to communicate their research in the most effective way. We're also offering nature careers, where we help researchers look up the right research positions and help them build an evidence-based CV, and also help in research evaluation in that sense. So these are all the set of tools and platforms that we bring to bear, and I'm also very happy to see what is happening in other parts of the industry as well. And this is the right direction to go from my perspective.
Thank you for sharing that, Harsh. I know we've covered a few of these elements, but maybe kind of going a little bit more into details. What do you think are some of the practical pain points that you hear from researchers about the current academic publishing landscape? And then how can technology be an enabler? How can innovative publishing strategies directly address these pain points in such a way that we can improve the whole research experience?
Absolutely. So if you look at a researcher journey, we have early career researchers who are coming in, and they, of course, need help in terms of what I talked about, nature masterclasses or courses that help them come on top of research methods, to be able to understand what's going on in research, etc. And they're really looking for tools where they could have a one-stop shop to stay on top of their research. And this is where technologies like AI can connect the dots for them and really give them visibility on what's happening in different parts of research and help them stay on top of it. I also believe that as researchers come in, they want to be able to collaborate, and they want to be really understanding, having a platform for collaboration. We also launched Springer Nature communities, which are research discipline specific communities, where no matter whether you're publishing Springer Nature or not, you could come and participate and really stay on top of who's really top in your field. There are tools like ResearchGate, which allows people to do that and stay connected and network. And that's something that I see as one key thing: be able to come on top, learn things, and really be able to communicate and contribute, collaborate and contribute. So that's one area. The second area is what I call as research to paper. There is a lot of work that's happening in the lab. They are in lab notebooks, they are in they are in desk drawers, etc. But how do you now take that and be able to communicate that? That's going to be something where we could help researchers by reducing the barrier to be able to share all their work. I'm a strong believer that more and more research should be published, and the industry should not determine or throttle the amount of research that happens or the amount of research that's published. We should be an enabler to reduce the barrier to publish research, including null results, and be inclusive in that. And of course, with security, integrity, and protecting fraud, this is something that AI can help us do as well, with human in the loop. And as well as once research is published, and providing tools, for example, as scientific writing assistants to help researchers share this data and take research to paper is going to be really, really critical. And once the research is out, it's shared, we can help them really translate that into impact by making it easy for general public audience to consume that research, understand it. There is so much of fake news and fake science, and we play a significant role in maintaining integrity and trust. And technologies like AI and blockchain can really help solve some of these problems as well as we go forward.
Absolutely. Open access is a topic of much debate. I know there has been significant progress in academic publishing and even in Springer Nature's own portfolio in moving towards open access. But one question that still is in a lot of publishers' mind is, how do we kind of see different business models evolve? And so in your opinion, Harsh, how do you see the open access models evolving to meet the need of the researchers and the readers, but at the same time ensuring the financial sustainability of academic publishing, because it involves a lot of rigor, a lot of processes, like you said, maintaining integrity, peer review. So how do you kind of, strike that balance?
Yeah, for me, I'm a bit biased as somebody who was a researcher in India and sometimes having access, like 20 years back, having access to, emerging research was not so easy because it was behind paywalls. So as a researcher, having open access really bridges the gap and builds equity from that perspective. At least it's available to other researchers, but it's also available to the community where it rightfully belongs. I believe, like I said, we are at the initial stages of open access. We are currently talking about open access as a business model, where after research is done, we take it out of a paywall and make it openly available, and that's seen as open access. But I believe we will go open by default, which means research will happen in the open, like how open source happens in GitHub and in open infrastructures. Research will happen in open infrastructures, and research data, research protocols will be openly available for collaboration and for sharing. But all of this should happen in the context of a sustainable business model. Even in open source, where the code is open, the infrastructure to host the code and make sure integrity of it is actually charged. And that's how I see as charging a small transaction fee for open access. And as more and more research gets published, this would also be optimized going forward from my perspective. And I'm new to the industry. I've heard all the conversations about how open access and the APCs create barriers, etc. And if I do a little bit back of the envelope math, we have a $1.7 trillion spend on research overall, but whereas the publishing industry itself is 10 billion, so it's no comparison from that sense. Therefore, I believe that having a small transaction fee where research could be shared very openly in a sustainable way, and publishers can take that load out of the research ecosystem and help them focus on what they do best, which is eco research, and then provide them with tools to share their research and collaborate on it and drive outcomes from it in a more sustainable way. So in summary, for me, open access needs to be a mindset, not just a business model. Research would happen more and more in an open infrastructure where data protocols and outcomes of research are openly shared, fostering collaboration. And all of this should happen in a sustainable way. Whichever business model we find, it needs to be sustainable, that the research community is focusing on what they do best and they get all the support to be able to share their research openly.
It's more of a mindset and not just, only pertaining to making it more open, more available, or just a business model. And you'll probably hear me quoting that a few times now going forward, because that's the kind of change that, the whole industry needs. The State of Open Data report from 2023 recently caught my eye. What really stood out for me was the insight that almost three-quarters of respondents had never received support with making their data openly available. First part of my question, any thoughts on that? And maybe the other part, B to that question would be, how can publishers establish effective feedback mechanisms to continuously improve and meet these kind of evolving needs of researchers and authors?
So I just want to start by saying that we did this industry-led report on open data practices. We've been doing this for 10 years now because we strongly believe sharing of research data in an open way is going to foster better collaboration, better outcomes. And every time we talk to researchers, we see engagement and willingness to share data, but there is a knowing to doing gap. You know what I mean by that? There is interest, but there is still not enough action in terms of how much of data, research data, is shared. So for me, one of the ways to solve this is also, I think about it in terms of three buckets: convenience, value, and reward. So if you look at convenience, how do we really make it convenient for people to share their research data? And convenience is an important thing that drives behavior change. The more convenient that you make it for people to share their data, then they would actually share it. The second thing for me is valuable. How do you make it valuable? Why should I share data if I am a researcher? And what do I get if I share the data? And what I believe open sharing data can actually do is have the community take a look at the data and then build on top of the research that you're doing, and could also drive more, follow-up research on top of what you're doing. Could lead to citations of this data, could lead to recognition of the work that a researcher is doing. So I think it's far more valuable to share data openly, and this would also drive the behavior change. And the third thing for me is rewarding. So how do you make it more rewarding for researchers to share the data, and how can funders mandate sharing of this data? So these are the three things that I see is very, very important. We've actually worked very closely with FixShare to enable the sharing of the data. We now have protocols.io, which we brought into the Springer Nature family to share open protocols. And we're trying to make it more and more easier for researchers and more convenient for researchers to share this data, make it more valuable and rewarding for them. And we are at the early stage, like I said, and this is just is going to continue to grow and build from where we are today. And I also believe that new generation of researchers, new cloud tools that comes out for working with data and dealing with data, and AI supporting working with big data will all make it more and more easier and convenient for people to share this data.
The other important topic which did the rounds in 2023 and maybe, is being spoken about over the last couple of years now was diversity in research. And I know you've already spoken a little bit about it. Global communities, a very high number of researchers come from, non-native countries. Even personally for me, as someone, who is of Asian origin, now living in the UK, I've personally realized how important the cultural context is in everything, in research, in life, in work, all of it. So considering the diverse cultural context, how can publishers ensure that their approach is culturally sensitive, at the same time resonates with stakeholders globally when expanding their research business?
For me, diversity has multiple perspectives, right? And I constantly believe that diverse teams are the top teams because there is diversity of thought, there is diversity of experience. If you look at the research context, research is becoming more global. Not all problems across the world could be solved by research or solutions that emerge from the research triangle in London or in in the US. Therefore, research needs to be localized, and there'll be more and more research happening in China and India, the Middle East, South America. And it's very, very important for publishers to make sure that they work with the communities there and therefore have leadership as well as teams that represent those communities, so you could actually understand the cultural context and work with those communities. So all publishers would be global publishers supporting these global emerging communities. I also believe it's important to look at diversity in terms of not just these locations. The locations are important, but but also diversity in terms of supporting careers at different researchers at different career levels. For example, early career researchers is an important group which needs support, and there needs to be mechanisms that are there to specifically support early career researchers, and diversity from that perspective in terms of offering the right services and solutions and opportunities to early career researchers is also very, very critical. The third thing for me is diversity in terms of the communities that we work with, specifically making sure that research that happens in these emerging markets like, say, China, India, the Middle East, or South America always doesn't go to the US or UK to get peer reviewed, right? So we also need to have editorial communities and peer review communities also, which are diverse and equally representative of the research communities that they are part of. So looking at it from that perspective is also as critical. Diversity is one part of it, but it's also very important to create the belongingness and inclusivity in these communities. So what we do as Springer Nature, we are 10,000 people out of 50 countries globally, and we constantly try to get closer to emerging research communities. We try to look at what is the representation of the research community, editors and reviewers in that community, authors in that community, and how can we be more representative and be closer to those communities. We also really look at, tools like Curie have diversity and equity built into it because there are more than 50% of researchers who don't speak English as a native language. So how do we really bridge the gap and help them, communicate this? So that's also part of creating an inclusive environment and also helping people to read research in their languages, read books in their languages, is also our quest to build in diversity and inclusion at everything that we do. The last thing that I want to say is I think it's also important for us as an industry to bring diverse set of thoughts and make sure that we are able to attract talent with diverse mindsets as well. Me coming from the technology industry, though I still do ask stupid questions, but I have certain diverse perspectives that I can actually bring to bear. And that's also really important to attract talent which are coming from different industries and with different thought processes to be able to take our industry to the next level. So for me, diversity in summary is at everything that we should do or we do as a business, all the way from engaging communities to the tools that we build, to the talent that we hire, and make it embedded at making it as the DNA of the company is going to be the critical thing for us.
Thank you, Harsh. You briefly, mentioned that your experience from the technology industry, and also as someone who has a lot of experience in leading global teams for digital transformation, clearly the whole process, the whole journey of digital transformation comes with its own set of challenges. Based on your experience, could you discuss some common challenges that are faced by publishers and also the benefits that can arise from embracing digital transformation in the academic publishing sector?
The industry itself, like I said in the beginning, has been there for a long, long time. And there are a lot of traditions associated with the industry, which are all really, really good. And it's been there, like I said, supporting the research communities for a long time. With the advent of digital technologies, with the advent of new technologies like AI, the mission doesn't change. The mission doesn't change. The mission has always been to help research communities and provide them a platform. Even when the industry started in the 1600s in a small room, bringing researchers together, and people were exchanging letters and commenting on each other's research and collaborating. The mission for the industry, I don't think, has changed as such, but the way we approach how we go about this mission now can benefit from digital transformation. And what do I mean by that? For me, digital transformation also starts with the culture. Really moving from a learn-it-all culture to be able to embrace new changes that's coming in. We're working at the cutting edge of research, and we should be able to embrace the change, and really using the right talent that we already have. We're attracting new talent that can come in, and also deploying technology to drive this digital transformation. For me, the key building blocks for a digital transformation is basically the thought leadership culture, to be able to articulate where we should be, look at where the puck is going rather than where it is today, and having the right talent, which is also upskilling people who we already have in new technologies and new ways of working with research ecosystems and communities, and last but not least, adoption of new technology. So having this thought leadership culture, having this talent and technology together, the three Ts will drive digital transformation. And I think we've been pioneers. We have, as an industry, used digitization from day one. In fact, if you look at the primary reason for the invention of the World Wide Web by Tim Berners-Lee, it was to help physicists share their research. So we have tremendous opportunity by leading with thought leadership culture, leading with the right talent and technology to drive digital transformation. And what does digital transformation and going fully digital for me mean? It's about delivering those, unlocking those ocean of opportunities that we have, offering the best in-class experience for global and diverse research ecosystems, so they could go from research to reality. And that's a tremendous opportunity in front of us as an industry, I would say.
I fully agree with you, Harsh. And when you were just talking about culture and its tradition, I think our own industry, which is the scholarly communications, also has its own traditions or set practices. And at the same time, there is, a lot of disruption happening. There's a lot of change that is happening. In this whole era of constant change that we all live in, how can publishers, academic societies strike this balance between maintaining traditions or set practices, which are extremely useful, are the foundation, but at the same time embracing innovation to remain relevant?
All these traditions and cultures we have is going to be the DNA of the industry. And I don't think that we need to, like I said, our mission remains the same. To make sure we are able to drive efficiently all the research that happens in the real world into reality and help impact people's lives and progress society. So that mission remains the same. There are, of course, traditions, and there are, of course, cultures, but I think I've seen over the past couple of years that there is openness to adopt new things, because as an industry, we have adopted to new things, right? We went from physical collaboration into print. We've seen the transition to print. We've seen the transition into digitizing our content, and we will also see the transition to digital, keeping our mission the same. And like I said, it's all about looking at thought leading culture, building that culture in, and constantly asking, why do we exist, and connect back to the mission. And attracting the right talent, and also making sure the talent that we already have are updated and up to speed on all the emerging things that help them serve their communities better. And last but not the least, adoption of technology that has been adopted across different industries. It's becoming a part of our lives to drive this change forward.
Got it. One of the things that when we were discussing a little bit earlier in our conversation, Harsh, was the whole topic around research integrity. And we both know right now there's so much conversation and discussions happening around research integrity. Unfortunately, every day we are hearing of some or the other news around it. And I think research integrity has always been extremely important. It's probably, just kind of resurfacing as an important topic, an important area. From your perspective, and maybe to kind of, wear two different hats, Harsh, one is within Springer Nature, what kind of activities are being taken, not just now. I mean, I know that, it's always been a pretty much like a focus, but what kind of activities are being done to uphold research integrity? And then maybe just as an industry, once again, what are things that we can do? Because I think, unfortunately, what is happening in this whole process is that, science is becoming a victim. And to a large extent, publishers also, because certain malpractices, certain paper mills, certain fraudulent bad actors are just trying to really, malign the whole industry. So from your perspective, Harsh, it'll be great to kind of get your thoughts, both from a Springer Nature's, perspective and the industry. What are some of the things that we need to do to uphold research integrity?
So when I actually took a look at this, right, in my view, there are three given facts, right? Number one, given the gross expenditure on R&D is going higher and higher, which is a good thing that there is more spent on research because we need to solve global problems, the volume of research that will be published will only go up. There will be new emerging research areas. There will be multidisciplinary research areas. There will be more and more people coming in as researchers, and there is more research funding. So the more research that's shared more openly is good. So there will be more research that's shared. The second thing that I constantly see is that the research incentive systems, the incentive systems for researchers are what they are today. And there is a lot of thought about how do we redefine research evaluation, etc. And this is something that we should all welcome and support. We should move away from the publish or perish culture. People should publish because they're doing research, and the friction to publish is reduced, but not because they're forced to, right? So that's the second given thing. It is as it is, and there is a lot of effort going on across the world on changing it. The third thing also is that there is fraud in the system. There are fraudulent practices, paper mills, because of incentives that are out there. And these are the three realities for me. The volume will keep going higher. The research evaluation mechanisms would change for the better, but they are as is. They do incentivize, publishing more. Impact factor is a driver, etc. And the industry's been talking about it, and there will be a constant shift in that to a better situation. And the third thing is it does drive fraudulent practices, right? Overall, the mechanism that we have in terms of also looking at fake research or paper mills and doing retractions also is working to a large extent. I have to credit a lot of sleuths who are out there, who are spending their personal time, and Papier and these groups who are taking a look at this. So more openly research and research data is shared. It's going to be really important to reduce the integrity issues. At Springer Nature, we are doing three things. The first one is organizationally making sure that everybody understands that research integrity and preventing fraud is the number one purpose why we exist as a publisher, in addition to being home for all research. The second thing is deploying tools and technology at every stage of the process to be able to look at nonsense research, to be able to look at track paper mills, to be able to have blacklist of bad agents in the system, to be able to deploy AI to look at shells and blots and practices that we see there, etc. And the third thing is collaboration with industry partners. So STM Integrity Hub and the whole Integrity Forum that we have, because it's not just one publisher's problem, it's the overall industry's problem, and therefore collaborating across the industry is also going to be critical. So these trends that I see in terms of more volume of research getting published, which is good, will continue to happen. Research evaluation systems are what they are today. They're moving to a direction where they'd be much better than what it is today. And third, this drives fraud in the system, and we need to have a clear organizational structure, a clear responsibility for integrity at the top of everybody's mind, in investment into technology and tools, and last but not the least, industry-wide collaboration to address these challenges. So that's sort of how I think about it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Harsh. Extremely useful. I know that you've covered this in bits and pieces, Harsh. So just to maybe kind of summarize your top of mind thoughts or how you see the year going forward, what are maybe top 2 trends that you foresee in scholarly communication, and how can the industry proactively prepare for the future needs of researchers?
Yeah, the 2 trends that I clearly see is there will be more and more shift into openness. So you see open access, which is established form in Europe and getting established in US as well with the OSTP memo. We see more and more open access in APJ in South America. So open access is going to be a tipping point this year for open access to become the default. So open access as default is how I would summarize this across the globe. And there is going to be a further acceleration of this, and we need to make sure that the system is still equitable, it is still accessible, for it increases participation rather than decreases participation. So these are the challenges we need to address with that. And the second thing is continuous use of AI. AI will be used in good ways, but AI would also be used in bad ways. And responsible use of AI is going to be important. AI is going to be used to connect the dots for researchers and help them stay on top. AI is going to be used to make it equitable and easy for researchers to share their research. AI is going to be used in assisted peer review with human at the center. But AI is also going to be used to create synthetic data. AI is going to be used to create fake papers. So it brings in the whole gamut of great things, but also things that we should watch out for. So those are the 2 trends that I see. Open being default, open access being default, and AI playing a significant role in across the research cycle. And it's exciting times. We are really in exciting times. But I can tell you, we're just getting started. So that's even more exciting.
No, I fully agree with you, Harsh. I think this is just the start. I know that there's going to be a lot of change. With that comes challenges. With that comes, we all moving out of our comfort zones. But let's do it together, like you said, Harsh. And last but not the least, when Harsh is not at work, when you're not traveling, when you're not on panel discussions, Harsh, when you're not reading reports and sharing insights, how do you spend your if you have any free time, how do you spend that time, Harsh?
I think well-being is really important. All of us have struggled during the pandemic to keep a balance, and we were turning into Autobots, stuck to our digital devices. I try to play. I play badminton. I used to play squash before, but they have an impact on my knees these days. So badminton is what I do, and then go on long walks in the forest nearby. So these are my 2 ways to recharge. And I also try to immerse myself into traveling. We do a lot of travel to World Heritage sites. I'm a history buff. So these are some of the things that help me recharge myself.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Harsh. I think, a lot of listeners would really find that very intriguing because, there's obviously another aspect to all of us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So thank you, Harsh, for this illuminating discussion on the dynamic landscape of academic publishing. You've certainly touched upon a range of topics, from the transformative journey of industry leaders to the disruptive forces reshaping the scholarly communications. We've explored the evolving need of researchers and the role of technology in enhancing their experience. The debate on open access and the nuanced strategies for global collaboration is also something that we spoke about. Thank you, Harsh, for underscoring the delicate balance between tradition and innovation in this ever-evolving space. And as we look to the future, Your insights into upcoming trends have left us pondering the exciting possibilities that await the scholarly community. Thank you, Dr. Harsh Jegadeesan, for contributing to the ongoing dialogue, shaping the future of academic publishing.
Thank you, Nikesh. I really enjoyed the engaging conversation. Thanks for having me once again.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us at Insights Exchange, where thought leaders and ideas converge. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the frontiers of knowledge.